we've gotten a lot of terrible live service games recently that come out, they flop within a month and are dead and then abandoned, and then everybody just moves on. Even the team Ninja Theory that just did Hellblade 2, right before that, they did Bleeding Edge, which was their own live service game that also was canceled and abandoned less than a year after it came out, which is crazy that it was that big of a turnaround. But some people might think that this is like a new occurrence, or an occurrence that's happened as a result of like modern trends or the industry collapsing. This is Bleeding Edge. This is the game that the Hellblade team did right before Hellblade 2 that just didn't go anywhere. But I mean, as you can see, like this is what they did, and then it just flopped and died out, and they spent millions and millions and millions of dollars developing these games, and they just don't go anywhere. But before all of this, you know, another game walked so they could run. You know, another game walked to blowing all of its money so that these games could just sprint and blow it all in the matter of months. You know, it's fantastic to see. And that game came years and years ago in 2015. The difference with this, though, is that this game that we're going to talk about sold remarkably well. This game had amazing hype, so kind of the opposite of something like Suicide Squad. Tons of people super hyped for it. It sold a reported 2.5 million units within its launch window. Wildly successful. That's a huge, huge deal. And yet it is completely dead and buried at this point. And this is something that's kind of different from what we would typically see. Nowadays, most live service games start with either total ambivalence, people just don't care, and then they're pleasantly surprised when they try it. I think that that's kind of what happened with like Helldivers. I think a lot of people were kind of totally focused on Suicide Squad as a live service game to beat up on, and then Helldivers came out and people actually had a really good time with it. But almost always, like, I can't think of a recent time where there's been a lot of hype for a live service game. Maybe you could say like Diablo 4, sort of, but that's not really this type of live service game in the same way. So I don't know. Typically nowadays, all live service games start with a lot of cynicism, but this game started with all the hype in the world. What could possibly go wrong? Let's see. Destin, what
and have officially revealed the first information on their new project.
Evolve is no joke. This is a gamer's game. New wave of the next generation.
The game is just so much fun. I love it.
This game is right up my alley. This is a game that I really see myself becoming my next addiction.
Congratulations to Evolve for winning 4 E3 2014 Video Game Critics Awards.
It's gorgeous.
Dude, oh, it's Cliff. We were just talking about Cliff. He's back. We just talked about his live service game that also flopped. I'm sorry, Cliff. You're doing great, but you're super rich, so I'm allowed to kind of poke fun at you. You can take it. I think, you know, there was just a lot of general unanimous hype around the game, and it's really odd because even the game, you'll see the game reviewed really well and then just totally took a nosedive after the fact. Pretty remarkable.
Game, I think it's going to do really, really well. I'm all about multiplayer games these days.
Best of show, best console game, best online multiplayer, and best action game.
Fun as hell.
Make you think about and make you remember why you became a gamer.
And we are jumping right into this game that is well underway here.
My favorites here at E3, and actually a nominee for GameSpot's Best of E3 2014.
It was awesome.
We were just screaming on the comms.
Yeah,
Holy, excuse me, shit.
Damn, I love playing that game.
I know, it's so much fun.
Evolve is super fun.
After 4 years of development, 1 delay, a closed alpha, and an open beta.
Maybe it's time for multiplayer to evolve.
It's almost here. Monster Hunting game Evolve makes its way to PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One this week.
Thrilling. Pulse pounding. So hype was through the roof and people bought it in droves. And it was one of those games, you know, won over 60 awards before it even came out. People were so stoked on this game. And looking back, I think there's a few reasons for it. For one, it was really graphically impressive at a time where there weren't a lot of games pushing the graphical boundary. Beyond that, I think it also was one of those games that shows really well and then in practice underperforms significantly. And there's been a handful of examples of games kind of like that. I think, you know, Cyberpunk Cyberpunk before it launched was kind of like that, where it showed really well, but then you got your hands on it and of course it was totally broken. Or like Starfield. I think Starfield, if you weren't looking at it critically, showed really well and Todd could hype you up a lot. But when you got your hands on it, you're like, okay, well, there's some problems here. Same with Anthem. Yeah, Anthem shows really well, and then you get your hands on it, and you're like, oh, there's not a whole lot there. So I think that's part of it, is that the game showed really well, and there wasn't a whole lot of critical, or dare I say, skeptical analysis of this game before it came out. And part of it is because like hype culture is so big in gaming. If you try to talk people off the hype cliff, they try to crucify you. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, and honestly, really, really toxic. We're working on this Starfield critique right now. And I went back and I pulled up one of the stream clips we did after the Xbox, like Starfield Direct thing they did last summer. And dude, some of the comments in that live stream clip, people were livid that I was bringing up stuff like the lack of free flight in atmosphere, or the fact that it seemed like they were suggesting you were going to be exploring small little fish bowls, small tiles on a planet. You weren't going to be able to freely explore, and there were going to be like 2 or 3 points of interest on each one. And of course the game came out, and sure enough, yeah, that does greatly impact your play experience. It ruins exploration. Like it is a problem, but bringing it up bums people out and kills their hype, and people will freak out if you do that. They do not like it. They do not like it at all. And especially back in 2014, there was not this wave of skeptical evaluation. In 2014, it was just kind of the case that, oh, the new game looks cool and exciting. Yeah, let's hype it up. Yeah, gaming's awesome. And I can appreciate that vibe, but it's how you get games like this that sell in droves that are dead within a short period of time, you know? It's crazy. Again, yeah, it is crazy. We need a shirt that's just, it's crazy, it's crazy, it's crazy. It's my new filler word, apparently. But I think what's most wild about all this is that the game sold 2.5 million copies, and a lot of you have not heard of it. That's crazy. 2.5 million copies for a live service game at the beginning of its lifespan, you'd think would set it up to be one of the biggest games today. If they were able to support it long term, this would just blow up, right? Oh, dude. The really awkward, extremely close-up unboxing videos where you can't really see anything because the camera keeps going out of focus and it's not really framed great. Man, I love 2014. Those were the days, man. Those were the days.
So let me know in the comment section down below if you guys are picking up Evolve.
So let me know in the comment section picking up Devolve. Dude was ahead of his time. He should be a TikTok host.
So let me know in the comment section down below if you guys are picking up Evolve on Tuesday.
It definitely does look like a game I'll have a lot of fun with. I don't know how long lasting it's going to be though.
It's going to be such a fun game to just, you know, grind out. It's supposedly just like Left 4 Dead.
Evolve is a deeply rewarding multiplayer experience
9
that packs both brains and brawn.
They give it a 9. No fucking They give it a 9.
There is absolutely no fun factor that comes with running circles around the map looking for one target for that long.
So in case you're not aware, basically what Evolve was like an asymmetric multiplayer game where one person is the monster and everybody else is playing as hunters, sort of. So what they thought would happen is that you would have the monster that's over here on the map, and then you have all the players. And the players go and everybody starts hunting in different ways looking for the monster, right? And eventually somebody finds them and everybody stumbles on, closes in, and hunts the monster. Really simple concept, makes sense, could be super fun, awesome. What inevitably just happened though is everything broke. Everybody would gather together and hunt in packs because the monsters had to be so powerful that they could fight a group of players that were hunting them, and it would be relatively competitive, right? But in order for this monster to be powerful enough to take on like 4 or 5 other people, you also need them to be powerful enough that they can curb stomp any one singular playable player. So you can't really split up individually because if the monster finds you, you're dead. But with that said, Interesting concept, but in practice, when you're not at E3 playing together and you have 10 minutes to do a match, so just don't think about it too much. In practice, what happened is everybody would gather up, hunt monsters together, and then the monster would just run away from you. And so the whole match would just be running in circles away from each other. Not that fun, you know? Not actually that captivating. Again, singular matches might be fun, shows really well, but once you actually play it at home with your friends for more than half an hour, you realize there's not actually a whole lot there. Yeah, the OG Evolve review. Let's see this from 9 years ago, 2015. Let's see what they said. Why did this deserve a 9?
Where a lot of high-concept games start with big promises and end in scaled-back disappointment, Evolve achieves exactly what it set out to do. Through an array of intelligent design choices, developer Turtle Rock Studios has created a smart, asymmetric multiplayer monster hunting game that plays unlike anything else. It's tactically deep, bursting with character, and once you get past its mildly obtrusive progression system, it offers a level of nuance rarely found in multiplayer shooters. A core concept as novel as assuming control of a hulking behemoth and facing off against 4 player-controlled humanoids could easily have fallen into gimmick territory, if not for the thoughtful way that Hunt, Evolve's core mode, is structured. Having the monsters start out relatively weak, only to feed and grow in power as the match progresses, creates a thick tension for both sides.
Interesting.
The monster needs to move quickly and carefully, balancing the need to put distance between themselves and the hunters with the need to find food and keep a low profile. It's a high-stakes tightrope act that requires good map knowledge and a strong grasp of the monster's surprising number of non-combat abilities, like climbing, sneaking, and sniffing around. For as effectively as they exude an intimidating physical presence, playing the monster requires patience and a full understanding of all the tools available. Overpowering the hunters is really just your reward for outsmarting them, which makes carnage like this feel just as satisfying as it looks and sounds. As the hunters, the continually interesting challenge is to find a cunning monster that doesn't want to be found amidst the sprawling, beautifully realized, and densely forested planet of Sheer. Fresh tracks and startled birds are among the more obvious clues, but following them like a breadcrumb trail is rarely enough. You need to reason out where the monster is headed and make effective use of your team's amusing sci-fi gadgets to head off and track down a decent monster player. You might tag tempting wildlife with a tracking dart so that when the monster eats it, you can get a bead on its location, or pursue a fleeing monster with an unmanned drone to give his position away to your teammates. Since every second that passes without the monster in your crosshairs is another step closer it gets to becoming nigh unstoppable, hunts are every bit as thrilling as they are nuanced.
Nuance, baby! So obviously it's IGN. We love memeing on them for sometimes having wild takes. How IGN, my understanding is how IGN tends to do stuff is that they'll give for a multiplayer game the team a bunch of review codes. They'll try the game together playing off of each other, and then they will kind of collaborate, talk about the game, what they think that a fair rating is, and then one person writes the review. It is possible that a group of 5 people that try a game for a review could enjoy it when other people wouldn't, right? It's possible, because we've seen there's people that are posting to the subreddit that like have played 600 plus hours of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and you're like, how on earth did you do that? And I'm sure they would have given the game a high score at launch, right? Whereas now we'd be like, you get what? You know? So I don't want to necessarily be like, oh, therefore IGN is total, like just a total joke. It does occasionally happen where there are outliers. That's why something like Metacritic is useful, because Metacritic lets you look at the broader trend of reviews, not just individual reviews to kind of pick and choose. Beer's your friend. A 9 out of 10 game that is unplayable is wild to me. They could have added a single player option. Instead, they did nothing and the game evaporated. Well, we'll go back to the Krabby Cat video here in a second and show you why the game pissed off so many people. It's crazy. Bad.
The true beauty of Evolve is in the subtle details that flesh out its world, its characters, and its mechanics. Characters preen and pose on the title screen, emoting with a near cartoonish flair that makes each one memorable. From playful pre-match banter,
well, good as we're gonna get,
to defiant mid-match monster taunting, all the voiceovers are well written and delivered.
No one died! Not even the giant alien dog bear!
Maggie in particular stands out with her fiery intensity and rich family history. Over 30 hours later,
Rich family history? What? What does that even mean? Okay. That gives off the same line as like the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. You know, that's that same kind of line where you're like, wait, what? Did I mishear that?
About the world beyond the front lines. Much 30 hours later, particular stands out.
Not even the giant alien dog bear!
Maggie in particular stands out with her fiery intensity and rich family history. Over 30 hours later, I'm still hearing context-sensitive dialogue I've never heard, and much of it provides interesting details about the world beyond the front lines. The real genius behind Evolve's gameplay, though, is the way each character's abilities synergize, and how each has importance beyond its basic functionality.
Synergize me, daddy!
For instance, Valve's Trank Gun is primarily used to slow the monster's movement, but since it reveals the monster's position through walls, it allows Cabot to make better use of his structure-penetrating rail cannon. Hank's Orbital Strike might be tough to hit on a moving target, but once Abe tosses out a stasis grenade or two, you can land it no problem. This leads to some rich decision-making at the character select screen, where team composition becomes incredibly important. Will you build a team that excels at catching the monster quickly and force early engagements, or focus more on stability and survivability? Evolve is full of tactical possibility, and fortunately, the AI-controlled bots are good enough to test a lot of this stuff out when playing single-player. Annoyingly, some of that possibility sits locked behind a progression system that, while not unreasonable, feels unnecessary. With all 12 hunters, 3 monsters, and all their perks unlocked, Evolve feels complete and fully fleshed out. But getting there can take anywhere from a few hours to a couple of weeks, depending on how good you are and how frequently you play. This makes Evolve seem more limited than it actually is at first, which is a shame, because once it's all opened up, it's anything but.
Cab, verdict?
It's really rare for a big multiplayer AAA release like Evolve to feel so considered and intelligent. Everything, every skill, every mechanic, every design choice seems to interlock in a way that's both natural and purposeful. That it's so mechanically rich and still conveys the raw energy and fun of duking it out with huge monsters and action figure-esque hunters is a real design feat.
Okay. Tons of personality. Dude simping hard. Tactical depth. Okay. Brilliant design. Unique concept. That's true. Give him that. At the time, I think it was truly unique. At the time. And then progression system. Okay. Because again, remember, this is like 2014, 2015. I think it was showcased in 2014, released early 2015. But let's see what some of the other things are going on here that they did not mention.
Largely just doing the same thing over and over.
Absolutely no.
Give it a 9.
Here we go.
Give it a 9.
There is absolutely no fun factor that comes with running circles around the map looking for one target for that long.
I'm largely just doing the same thing over and over.
Vince Ingenito here. I'm the guy that got to review Evolve for IGN.
Like, how many games have you played in your life where you're like, yeah, I want to run some more?
This was an inside job. Thank you.
$15 for one. And I repeat, one fucking monster.
You're giving me a gun that's painted blue and you want to charge me $2.
$130 worth of downloadable content that isn't even on the Season's Pass.
It's not even good DLC. It's not even good cosmetic skins. Look at this shit. They didn't put effort into it.
It doesn't feel like it's got a ton of content to it.
The content in this game is laughable.
Do you think that it's worth $60 as it is now?
Yeah.
I do. This scalping of our fucking games. Just to pinch more fucking dollars out of the microtransactions.
Balance issues upon release and the long-awaited patches to fix it.
This game is often horribly unbalanced.
Because of the hype and because of all the talk and all.
Oh, no way. They got DSP in the clip. Dude, this was 2014. DSP was still kind of big. That's funny. That's so funny. He made it in a Krabby Cat
fix
video.
it.
Transactions.
Balance issues upon release, and the long-awaited patches to fix it.
This game is often horribly unbalanced.
Because of the hype and because of all the talk and it's the makers of Left 4 Dead, we're supposed to forgive that. No!
And the very fact that you can't be a monster if you're playing in a party is utterly absurd.
90% of the people that were playing it are no longer playing it, and they moved on to something else.
Stick around. Do not leave. You want to see this guy. These guys doing a pretty great job to be very competitive in a very competitive tournament.
If you thought the matchmaking was bad when it first came out, now with an all-time low number of players, good luck on getting into a full lobby or getting your choice of characters now.
There'll be a decent player base at launch, and then seemingly overnight, that player base becomes a shell of itself. And I'm not talking about like, the hype died down and the player base is stabilized. I mean, fucking sharp decline, craziness.
Hopefully 3 years from now, right? When you've bought some game and it let you down, it didn't live up to your expectations, you can always be like, you know what, I'm gonna play Evolve, because goddamn, that game's still fun.
Oops. So this is the whole thing with it. Like, it was a fascinating game at the time, and it hyped people up, but it is a prime example of when hype can go awry and can lead to problems. Because you hear some people that are talking about it, and it's just, you're like, did we even play the same game? So Vince Ingenito was the one who reviewed that. I want to see some of his other reviews. He's associate editor for IGN reviews. Final review. So did he leave in 2017? Where's Vince? Excommunication on #MeToo. Wait, so was he canceled? Does anyone know what happened to it? It looks like he was, let's see, basically a man's career was ruined for a few mildly suggestive comments between good friends. Former editor at IGN. I don't know. I don't know the story of it, but apparently he left like 7 years ago and is doing like freelance work or something. But of his other reviews, let's see. Final Fantasy, he did their Final Fantasy 15 review. He did the PS4 Pro review. Recore, The Division Underground. Did he do any other big? Oh, he reviewed Overwatch. So he like did their live service reviews and stuff. Double Dragon 4, Switch. He gave the Switch a 7. Why did he give it a 7? The Division. Yeah, so he just would do all of their live service stuff, it seems. 6.7 for The Division. Like I said, I don't know the story, but it's funny how sometimes you can see like one reviewer, and if you're like, that was kind of an odd like review score, that was a little strange, and then you look up their other reviews and you're like, oh, it's a pattern. It's a pattern. I got it. He took my thing.